Mortal Kombat has some of the most iconic fighters in gaming history, but the franchise also created some of the absolute worst characters ever designed, and I'm ranking all 8 of them from dumb to catastrophically stupid. These aren't just bad fighters. These are characters so poorly conceived that even the developers regret making them, starting with the most shameless ripoff in fighting game history, Jarek. Jarek exists because the developers were lazy. Let me explain. The Mortal Kombat 4 team had already programmed Kano's entire moveset into the game engine, but decided they needed new characters instead of bringing back old ones. Their solution was to create a new guy and give him every single move Kano had. The cannonball roll, the eye laser, even the heart rip fatality, all copy-pasted directly from Kano with 0 changes. His Armageddon bio card literally refers to him as the Kano character for MK4. The developers admitted it in writing. He's a military crew cut guy with a goatee wearing an orange vest with the Black Dragon logo. Nothing about him is original or interesting. But here's where Jarek became legendary for all the wrong reasons. His Mortal Kombat 4 ending is one of the most unintentionally hilarious cutscenes in fighting game history. Jax holds Jarek over a cliff edge. Jarek screams in the worst voice acting you've ever heard. Wait, this is brutality. You can't do it. Jax responds with equal terrible delivery. Wrong, Jarek. This is not a brutality. This is a fatality. Then he drops him. The stiff animation, the absurd dialogue, the complete lack of self-awareness. It became a YouTube meme phenomenon that's still getting laughed at decades later. WatchMojo called him the poster boy of uninspired fighters who only exist to fill an arbitrary new character quota. Even Mortal Kombat X acknowledged how bad he was. Jax has intro dialogue where he calls Kano a second-rate Jarek, which is an ironic in-universe joke about the clone situation. The franchise itself admits Jarek is a knockoff, but at least Jarek functions as a complete character, unlike the disgusting mess that comes next. Draman is one of only 2 characters that Ed Boon has publicly named as his least favorite in the entire franchise, and when you look at him, it makes perfect sense. He's a rotting corpse with an iron club bolted to one arm, a sword permanently stuck in his shoulder, and a constant swarm of flies buzzing around his body. Fans described him as the disgusting meat, only with random items bolted onto his body. His concept sounds promising on paper. A cruel warlord tortured in the Netherrealm for centuries until he went insane, became an Oni demon, and wears a magic mask called the Face of Kunlo that supposedly controls his rage. Cool backstory. But in execution, he's just a gross visual mess that nobody wanted to play. Here's where it gets worse. His gameplay was catastrophically bad. Draman had no dial-up combos in any of his fighting styles. 0. He only had pop-up combos, which made him painfully slow and overly reliant on special moves. And the swarm of flies constantly buzzing around him visually obscured the action, making matches harder to follow. Playing as Draman felt like a punishment. In a Game Informer article titled 10 Things You Don't Know About Ed Boon, Draman and Shu Hao were specifically named as Ed Boon's 2 least favorite Mortal Kombat characters, with Boon indicating their chances of returning were essentially 0. When Armageddon forced every character back into the roster, the developers replaced both of Draman's unique fighting styles with Reptile's Hungar, a complete lazy shortcut that shows exactly how little they cared about this character. But the franchise wasn't done humiliating. In the Mortal Kombat X comics, Quan Chi punished Draman by burning his skin off entirely, leaving only bones. Even in the story, NetherRealm kept finding new ways to degrade a character they clearly regretted creating. But if you think a fly-covered demon is bad, wait until you hear about the background sprite that somehow became a final boss, Blaze. Blaze has one of the most baffling character promotions in gaming history. He started as a tiny background sprite in Mortal Kombat 2, a burning humanoid figure fighting another character on the Pit 2 bridge. That's it. He was an unexplained visual detail that fans nicknamed Torch and speculated about for years. Then, in Armageddon, he was elevated to the single most important character in the entire Mortal Kombat universe, the final boss whose defeat determined the fate of all realms. The problem is that Blaze is literally just a humanoid figure on fire with 0 personality. His name is Blaze. He's a fire elemental. That's the entire character. WatchMojo said he has the personality of a block of wood and feels like a plot device rather than a fully fleshed out character. Compare him to iconic Mortal Kombat bosses like Shao Kahn, who has memorable dialogue, an intimidating presence, and a visual identity that screams power. Or Goro, a 4-armed champion of Mortal Kombat who dominated the tournament for 9 generations. Blaze has none of that. No memorable lines, no intimidation factor, no visual identity beyond being on fire. Here's where it gets worse. His Armageddon boss fight reused Onaga's animations from Deception, the supposed main antagonist of the game, the culmination of the entire original Mortal Kombat timeline, and they gave him recycled animations from the previous game's boss. He never received received his own fatality across any appearance in any game. For a franchise built on brutal finishing moves, the final boss of Armageddon doesn't have one. His backstory involves being corrupted by Onaga's holy men, which conveniently means the entire original timeline's ending fails due to a random plot contrivance. The famous Armageddon intro cinematic showing all the warriors battling up a pyramid toward Blaze is genuinely awesome. It's one of the most iconic trailers in Mortal Kombat history. Blaze himself is the least interesting thing in it. A background sprite with no personality became the most important character in MK lore, but at least he was intentionally designed as a character, unlike the accidental nightmare that comes next. Meat. Meat was never supposed to be a character. Let me be very clear about this. MK4 art director Tony Goski created a cosmetic skin, a bloody skeleton and muscle model that could be placed over any selected fighter as an Easter egg. That's it. Meat had no moves of his own. He was a texture swap for visual shock value, and it broke the game. If Sub-Zero froze Meat, the character underneath would clip through and become visible. Various attacks caused original character parts to poke through the muscle model. Completing arcade mode as Meat caused the game to literally reset itself. He wasn't a functional character. He was a graphical novelty that shattered when you engaged with it too seriously. Then Armageddon made him a full playable character, and things got significantly weirder. Meat is canonically a failed genetic experiment from Shang Tsung's flesh pits, who escaped before being fully formed. He's a skinless humanoid with exposed raw muscle tissue and an eyeball dangling from its socket. His special move called mutilation involves popping this eyeball back into place to restore health. His head roll attack has him rip off his own head and bowl it at opponents like a grotesque bowling ball. Here's where the absurdity peaks. He's listed at 5 foot 7 inches and 250 pounds. A skinless figure with no organs weighs 250 pounds. Game Revolution wrote, "The worst athletic commission probably wouldn't clear him to wash a car, let alone fight. The numbers make zero biological sense. His Armageddon ending might be the most ridiculous in Mortal Kombat history. He defeats Blaze and gains shape-shifting powers, but because he has no sense of identity, he loses himself completely and disappears into obscurity. The developers wrote his own irrelevance directly into the canon. They created him, made him playable, then had his ending literally erase him from existence." MK art director Steve Barron joked that Meat has a cousin named Scully who is just a skeleton, but he never made it into the game. Even the joke characters have joke relatives that didn't happen. Meat is what happens when a texture glitch gets promoted beyond its station, but at least he was unintentional. The next character was deliberately designed to be as gross and unfunny as possible. Bo Rai Che-O. His name is a pun. Bovu Rai Cho equals borracho, which is Spanish for drunk. Character artist Herman Sanchez confirmed they took the Spanish word, broke it into 3 syllables, and used it because it felt Asian-sounding enough. This obese, perpetually intoxicated martial arts master from Outworld is the man who canonically trained Liu Kang, the greatest Earthrealm warrior. The champion who defeated Shang Tsung and saved the realm multiple times learned everything from a guy whose core abilities involve vomiting and flatulence. Let that sink in. Liu Kang's teacher is a farting drunk. His signature moves include the puke puddle, where he vomits on the floor to make opponents slip. He randomly farts during gameplay and stance switching. His belly flop is a legitimate special move. His Mortal Kombat deception fatality, the fartality, has him light a match near his rear end and incinerate his opponent with a flaming fart. In Mortal Kombat 11, his only appearance is as a tower modifier, where he farts across the screen to support fighters. Ed Boon stated Bo Raicho was created because he wanted a basically slobby character. That was the creative vision. One forum commenter captured the community frustration perfect. He is the prime mark of when MK started losing its subtle humor and started making an ass of itself. The franchise went from mysterious ninja warriors and interdimensional sorcerers to toilet humor that wouldn't pass on a children's cartoon. Here's the truly frustrating part. His lore justification is genuinely clever. Bo Raicho can't compete in Mortal Kombat tournaments himself because his victory would count for Outworld, where he was born. So instead, he trains Earthrealm warriors to fight on their behalf. That's actually a smart concept. A brilliant master working behind the scenes to protect a realm he can never officially represent. It's buried under layers of third-grade fart jokes. The franchise itself treats him like a punchline. In Mortal Kombat X's story mode, he gets kicked through a wall by revenants in a Looney Tunes style moment, then dragged away helplessly. In Mortal Kombat 11, the Collector mocks Liu Kang directly. "That drunken fool trained you." Even in universe, characters question how Liu Kang learned anything from this guy, but at least Bo Raicho has original moves. The next character character is literally codenamed after someone from a completely different franchise, Cobra. During development, Cobra's placeholder name was literally Ken Masters, the exact name of the character from Street Fighter. A German gaming magazine published beta screenshots identifying him by this name before release. He's a blonde martial artist and a white GI obsessed with fighting. The resemblance to Ken from Street Fighter is so brazen, it borders on intellectual property mockery. They didn't even try to hide it. His name Cobra doubles as a reference to the Cobra Kai dojo from the Karate Kid, completing a character built entirely from other franchises' DNA. He's a walking copyright lawsuit that somehow made it into the final game. His backstory tries to be dark and edgy. He's a karate student who started killing drug dealers in New York back alleys, got addicted to murder, and escalated to robbing convenience stores. It reads like an edgy teenager's creative writing assignment, someone trying way too hard to make a Street Fighter clone seem threatening and failing completely. Screw Attack described him as a direct knockoff, only not being able to pull it off, and turning him into a generic white guy. There's nothing memorable about him. No unique visual design, no interesting abilities, no personality. He's literally just white dry guy who likes fighting. Nerdbacon wrote, "There is literally nothing else to say about Cobra, and it's already been a chore writing this much. There's not even a real reason not to like him. He's just so completely unremarkable that there's nothing to like. 100% useless." The franchise itself forgot he existed. In Armageddon's Conquest mode, Taven easily dispatches him while Kira abandons him mid-fight. His own Black Dragon partner leaves him behind because he's that forgettable. But the ultimate insult comes in Mortal Kombat X. Aaron Black has pre-fight dialogue with Kano where he says, "I killed a member of the Black Dragon. I think his name was Cobra." The franchise literally has characters forget his name after killing him. Here's the ironic twist. Cobra was one of Deception's most overpowered fighters. Event Hubs called him the most hated top tier in Mortal Kombat history. He was tournament viable, competitively strong, and players despised him for it. A blatant rip-off character with zero personality dominated the meta, which made the community hate him even more. But at least Cobra was designed as a complete fighter. The next character wasn't even finished. Mocap. Mocap is a martial arts teacher from the north side of Chicago who was recruited by Johnny Cage to do motion capture work for a movie. He wears a full motion capture suit covered in tracking balls while fighting alongside thunder gods, undead ninjas, and interdimensional sorcerers. He was created as a tribute to Carlos Pesina, the real-life martial artist who played Raiden in Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 and served as Midway's primary motion capture actor for years. The tribute resulted in one of the franchise's most despised characters. Mocap was added so late in Deadly Alliance's development that he lacked his own fighting styles, had no weapon stance, and had no fatality. His moves were borrowed from other characters. He's a patchwork fighter stitched together from leftover assets. To unlock him, players had to complete Conquest mode with every single character in the game, an enormous time investment that took hours. Your reward for this massive grind was a broken joke fighter who couldn't even finish his opponents properly. He never received his own finishing move across any game in the entire series. A Mortal Kombat character with no fatality. In a franchise built entirely on brutal finishing moves, Mocap has zero across multiple appearances. That's like making a racing game character who can't drive. Watch Mojo ranked him the #1 worst Mortal Kombat character ever created. Their explanation: as a joke, Mocap is not particularly funny. As a legitimate fighter, Mocap is shallow and underdeveloped. Combine those two, and the result is a character who has no reason to exist. He fails as comedy and fails as a fighter simultaneously. In Mortal Kombat Deception's Conquest mode, when you punch Mocap, he yells, "Oh my balls!" because the motion capture suit has tracking balls. That's the joke. He screams about his balls getting hit. This is the level of humor the developers thought was appropriate. His Armageddon ending might be the most absurd in Mortal Kombat history. He defeats Blaze, which causes an explosion that kills himself and every other fighter in the universe. Then, he becomes a constellation. A motion capture actor from Chicago's north side becomes a literal constellation taught in Edenian history as the warrior who saved all realms. A meta-joke character who broke the fourth wall became a constellation. Mocap broke the game's tone completely. He's a walking reminder that you're playing a video game while everyone else is fighting for realm survival. He never functioned as a complete fighter, never got a fatality, and existed purely as a tribute that nobody asked for. But at least the developers tried to make him work. The final character was so hated that his own creators spent decades finding new ways to kill him. HSU HI. No character in Mortal Kombat history has been more thoroughly, systematically, and publicly despised by both fans and the people who created him. Ed Boon has stated on record that Shu Hao is his least favorite character in the entire franchise. Mortal Kombat writer John Vogel hated him even more. He declared Shu Hao's death in Jax's Deadly Alliance ending as canon, specifically because he wanted to permanently eliminate the character from existence. A hidden message in Mortal Kombat Deception's Chaos Realm, revealed by playing an inhabitant's words backwards, states, "Will Shu Hao return from the dead? Probably not." The developers programmed a secret message into the game just to confirm he's staying dead. His design is catastrophically bland, a Mongolian wrestler wearing a peaked military cap with a cybernetic chest implant that shoots lasers. His character model was reportedly originally designed as a new look for Shao Kahn before being repurposed into a separate character, so he's not even an original design. He's recycled assets from a scrapped boss redesign. Here's where it gets worse. He's effectively a Kano clone. Since Jarek was already a Kano clone, fans correctly noted that Shu Hao is essentially a clone of a clone. He's a Red Dragon operative who follows Mavado's orders without personality, motivation, or individual agency. TV Tropes described his design as a very unflattering depiction of a Yellow Peril stereotype villain. He fails both creatively and culturally. When Armageddon forced every character to return, John Vogel wrote Shu Hao's ending so that he dies yet again and becomes a demon void of any character. The writer deliberately stripped him of all personality as a final insult. Even when legally required to include him, they found a way to kill him in his own ending. He was the first character confirmed not to appear in Mortal Kombat X. Before the game even launched, NetherRealm announced his absence. In the Mortal Kombat X comics, he was the very first character killed. On page 12 of issue 1, Scorpion impaled his cybernetic heart. The franchise opened its new timeline by immediately executing Shu Hao. Mortal Kombat 11 took the humiliation to legendary levels. Aaron Black's default intro animation has him walk on screen carrying a burlap sack. He throws it down, and Shu Hao's severed head rolls out, still wearing his signature peaked cap. Every single match with Aaron Black starts by displaying Shu Hao's decapitated head. Fujin uses Shu Hao as an insult when Kano calls him Raiden Light. The name itself became synonymous with failure. A background billboard in Mortal Kombat 11 advertises Shu Hao watches as a running gag. Even the in-game advertising mocks him. In Deception's Conquest mode, this once-feared Red Dragon operative is reduced to begging Shujinko to help him find employment. A trained killer begging a stranger for job opportunities. Every subsequent game has found a new way to humiliate a character the developers actively regret creating. He's not just a bad character, he's become the franchise's official shorthand for failure, the measuring stick for terrible design. When Mortal Kombat wants to show a character as worthless, they compare them to Shu Hao. His legacy isn't just being the worst character in Mortal Kombat history, it's being so bad that his own creators turned him into a decades-long joke about how badly they failed. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.